Okay, so as you can see, we have another fundamental root, as we always do, whether it's the tree or the infinite singularity or whatever, which is U, capital Y, U. And we're a big eyeball. And that is our observer, that's our consciousness, that's our infinite tree of possibility. That's our projector. This also our manifold. The manifold is an atlas of maps. The maps we're calling a reality description sets. So physics is one, consciousness is another, healing is another, or I like to use the 3 Ps, a physicist, a philosopher, and a physician. These things were never separate things, and then they became separate later. But they're all used to be called natural philosophy. You can't separate these things. They're entangled and they're inseparable. But when you know the physics of consciousness, you also know healing. Mm-hmm. It's very simple like that. So, and it's cute because the PPP also beautifully plays with purchasing power parity, which is one of the strongest terms in economics, which is all about how well the amount of economic power that you feel like you have with the currency that you're earning for the amount of work that you're doing or the time that you're selling for that money. How much can you buy public goods and services, the basket of goods and services that are common, like your bread and your eggs and your internet and your car, your house, that kind of stuff, your energy bill, etc. Mm-hmm. So once, it's kind of cute because once that economic purchasing power feels holistic for everyone across Earth and prosperous, which right now it doesn't, that can also be a beautiful analogy to being very balanced and holistic in your understanding of physics, consciousness, and being a physician or a healer. Okay, so now on these reality description sets are code points. The code points are essentially how well do you know that reality description set. So if you're just now starting to get into healing, or if you just completely don't care about it at all, then you'll probably be a 1. You just won't really care about it. Mm-hmm. Then you might start getting down to 10 eventually. You might start getting more interested in therapy. You might start getting more interested in meditation and spirituality and self-reflection and psychedelics, and eventually you'll get to understanding how you can reframe all of your stories and all of your experiences from the perspective of non-locality or omni-locality or non-separation, which then is the ultimate bath of infinite healing that you can never revert back from, because you start to see your mom, your dad, your siblings, everyone on Earth as an omni-local entangled singularity, and there's no more separation or segregation. You were never the victim, you were always the creator. But it takes a while to get to these deep insights. So in philosophy or consciousness, you might start in being like, I'm interested in neuroscience. The amygdala or prefrontal cortex, let's investigate. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you'll get to deeper things like, what is I amness? Is I amness belong to a name? Or does I amness belong to that non-local infinity? And that's when you get to things like non-locality, omni-locality, across all bodies simultaneously. In physics, in that reality description set, you might get interested in understanding electromagnetism, or you might start to be like, what are the, quote, 4 fundamental forces, when there's only one called infinite consciousness, which appears like gravitational singularities and the dance of light and information as electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces. But then you'll get deeper and you'll be like, what do you mean there's a holy grail called quantum gravity or gravity quantum? And then you'll understand that, I'm an entangled singularity. Okay, infinite creation. Okay, so you're doing calculus across these based on the code points, based on where you're at in your understanding, is completely determining the geometric rendering. It's completely determining the light hallucination, the hologram. So the hologram, the light hallucination, this geometric rendering is 100% causal. 100% has a clear causal link to the reality description sets, to the observer and its understanding of itself. So it's all based on self-knowledge of God, or self-knowledge of infinity, or self-knowledge of infinite consciousness. So this is all, these can also be seen as frequencies, right? So when you're all the way out in this contracted red frequency, you believe in ego, you believe in separation, you're always trying to fight war, greed, selfishness, more violence, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually you go on this journey, right? Like I said, you start getting interested in therapy, you start getting interested in meditation, psychedelic, self-reflection. Oh, shamanic reframings, what is that? Right? Non-locality, what is that? Etc. And as you do that, you start shifting into the orange band, the yellow band, the green band. Your heart chakra breaks open and you start falling in love with the world and with it exactly as it is. The blue, the purple, the shift even deeper into I am everything, I am the totality, I am all of this at once. And then, you come home back to the source. So meaning your understanding of yourself. So calculus is just literally measuring change over time. That's all it is. This is what's measuring. Consciousness is what's measuring. And calculus is change over time. Because what's happening is these code points on the reality description sets are changing over time. You might start your journey when you're like 15 years old or 20 years old or whatever, and you start your hero's journey or whatever, right? And so you start kind of in the red band, and then you're, because you can't find love and happiness and unity and fulfillment and all this stuff out of money and selfishness and greed and all this type of stuff. And you're like, why can't I ever be happy? And then you start getting into the orange band and the yellow band because you start seeking. And as you do that, you start shifting out of the contractions into the expansion. And the expansion is these deeper code points on the reality description set. That's what's determining your frequency shifting into the purple band, which is also neg entropy. So the red band is entropy or disorder or contraction, and neg entropy is expansion or coming back home to yourself. And that's what's determining your holographic hallucination or simulation. The entire rendering is causally linked to the calculus that's happening on the reality description set. So meaning, if you believe, it's so simple when you frame it this way, but if you believe, it's a belief. If you believe that you're not infinite consciousness, then you're gonna believe that you're a truly finite, separate entity in time that exists in a constant state of panic and lack and anxiety that needs to get fulfillment from the world. So that belief is literally operating your moment-to-moment existence. And so that's why your reality looks the way it does. So, and those are a lot of contractions and traumas and assumptions about separation and all kinds of things. But then when you start doing more of this calculus on your journey back home in terms of changing what's on these reality description sets more and more towards coming back home to this purple band, to these very deep, deep level insights about what you truly are, that's when everything becomes so simple. It becomes so easy to understand. It's like, okay, I get it. I'm actually everything and everyone and infinite right now. And I'm having a lucid dream. And that's a very powerful feeling. It's the end of all your suffering, the end of all your contraction, the end of all your stories, the end of all your dramas, the end of being a diva, the end of all of that stuff proliferating endlessly. And you just get to come home and rest in yourself as infinity, because you can't ever leave yourself as God. And so that's how this works. These are both mathematical and logical and geometric and deeply ordered concepts at the same time as they are very mystical, and they're very intuitive, and they're very philosophical, and they're very much in that domain at the same time. And really, one of the big places where the rubber meets the road between the balance of order and chaos, or between the balance of physics and philosophy, or between math and consciousness, where the rubber meets the road in the math of consciousness is really in the domain of transformation. It's in the domain of healing. It's in the domain of being a physician or a healer. Because where the rubber meets the road is, okay, how good your theory or model of reality is completely based on how well your space holding is for a conscious subjective experience to go from pain and suffering to healing and awakeness or lucidity. So that's where the rubber meets the road. So if you're too imbalanced in intuition, or if you're too imbalanced in order, math, and logic, your rubber won't meet the road that well. If your theory or your model has holes in it, if you're too mystical, mathematicians will poke holes in it. If you're too mathematical, mystics will poke holes in it. And if you're very balanced, you'll really be able to successfully hold cathartic transformational space. And that's exactly what will change the reality rendering for the observer that you're interacting with. So the fruit of the changes that happen in the root is your very that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the proof is. That's the proof. So the fruit, the change in what appears as the fruit, when you make changes in the root, especially in healing and transformation, that's what the proof is of your model or your theory that you have. So that was a nice little session here, and I hope it lands deeply in your hearts, and the rubber meets the road and serves you beautifully.